This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Hey, friend, I know how this feels. Waking up exhausted after multiple trips to the bathroom and feeling embarrassed by sudden leaks. I used to be constantly on edge, searching for a restroom whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Woman. I was skeptical at first, but 2 months in, everything changed. I experienced improved bladder control, no more heart-stopping moments when I laugh or sneeze, less urge to go, deeper and more restful sleep. I finally felt like myself again, confident and in control. Better Woman is natural, effective, clinically tested, and trusted by women for over 25 years. Ready to take back your control? Head over to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Tech.
Get ready, Minnesota. ZZ Top is bringing their legendary rock sound to the land of 10,000 lakes. Don't miss out on your chance to see these rock icons live at the Ledge Amphitheater June 12th. Tickets are on sale now. You can get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
To noon, 10:06. Welcome back. It's Paul Allen. Brett Blakemore produces. And here comes the aforementioned scribe, Ben Goessling, one of our very favorites, at Ben Goessling via Twitter, covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. And lo and behold, this will be our Steve's Appliances marathon segment. Steve's Appliances, fast delivery, free recycling, and guaranteed low prices. Steve'sAppliances.com. So the league meetings, so they're at the Omni in Eagan by Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center next week, right?
I believe so, yes. They are this month kind of the continuation of what they started talking about in March in Palm Beach. But yes, I believe they are coming back to Eagan here in the next week or so.
Okay, so is this the bit, and I'm sorry to ask these stupid questions in 3-2, but like it used to be at the Biltmore in Scottsdale?
Well,
is it the same thing?
This is different than that. So the Biltmore, the ones that you're talking about with the Biltmore and then Palm Beach, that happens in March. That's like the big, what we call the annual owners meeting, the NFL annual meeting, I think is the way the league describes it. That's typically somewhere warm, somewhere where owners and other people of means like together to talk about league rule changes and all those kinds of things. And they meet again typically in mid-May, and that has moved around a little bit over the years, but that's like where I think they approved Thursday night flex scheduling a couple of years ago. I think when Dan Snyder kind of got elbowed out in Washington, I think that happened in a May meeting.
Right.
So this is what's typically been, it over the last couple of years, a couple of times it has come to the Twin Cities, especially as that Viking Lakes facility has gotten built out, and that is coming again, I believe I think it's in a week.
Okay.
Double check me on that. But typically what they'll do is leftover business from the March meeting, they will get back into and say, do we want to do this? Or, do we get enough votes to get this through? Things like playoff seating, I think is going to be discussed again. Yes. All of that stuff that got tabled in March will be revisited. And you can figure the things that the league wants to get done, they've taken a little time to, I believe it would be called whip some votes in Congress. That would be the congressional term for it, where it's like, hey, we'd really like to see this happen. What would you need to be able to get on board with it? So some of those things I would expect to come back up. And I don't know if we'll get any discussion on 18-game regular seasons or anything like that, but it's another chance for things to get approved for 2025.
So as elite journalist guy, Yeah, I would imagine part of the job is reading a lot of stuff written by a lot of people.
Yep.
So in other words, profootballtalk.com, whether you like Flory or not, it's a terrific website for constantly churning updated news.
Yep. It's on my my list of things I need to keep an eye on.
It's on your scribe deck.
Yep.
The scribe deck pops up and there's PFT, we.
Yep.
All right. So there have been these stories and I read one paragraph of one and it was boring. So I don't read them because they're boring. But it's like the White House is getting involved in something with the NFL and with Goodell, and they're trying to put the clamps on something. Have you read those stories?
Well, there's been stuff on NIL that Nick Saban is trying to do. I'm trying to remember what the NFL thing was. I did see this headline the other day, but with Nick Saban, it's been trying to, I think, have some level of regulation of NIL so that it's not quite as Wild West as it's been.
NFL declines comment on proposed White House cuts to TBI research and education.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what is this?
Well, so TBI is traumatic brain injury. So a lot of the cuts that you've seen come out of Washington in terms of federal budgets.
Oh, the Doge bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some of it has been that, and some of it's, I think, just overall looking to make cuts in government spending. But one of the things that comes with that is medical research, and TBI would be concussions, CTE, all of the things that lead to NFL players, especially in their older years, dealing with a lot of, whether it's dementia or different nervous system issues. I mean, things that you've seen over the years with players that, ALS, I think, has been downriver from some of those things. I mean, things you've seen like Steve McMichael or Mike Webster. I mean, all of the things that have been fairly high profile over the last 15, 20 years, research in traumatic brain injury, and research into what causes it, how to treat it, has been part of what's driven NFL changes like helmets, like return to play protocol, all of those kinds of things that have come out of that. So yes, that is what we're talking about in that particular case.
All right. So for the Minnesota Vikings, and I meant to ask you this last week and I forgot, but it's an evergreen piece, but the number could move like it did last year. Here's the point. For the Minnesota Vikings, their season win total, the season win number, it's 8.5. All right. Now this time last year it was 6.5.
Yeah.
Now 6.5, objective journalist, objective or less than objective cheerleader announcer. 6.5 was freaking ridiculous with the AFC South on the schedule.
Yeah.
But see, that's the key this year. It's like somebody asked me about it yesterday, and yes, I believe they'll win 10 games or more. But when you hook the AFC North and it's not the AFC South, well, that's completely, that's markedly different than last year, right?
No doubt it is. I mean, I think you saw the NFC North records, and there was records broken in terms of 14-win wild card, 11-win third-place team, which I think tied an NFL record there. You had those three teams winning, I believe, 40 games between the Lions, Vikings, and Packers. The fact that they all got to play the NFC or the AFC South and beat up on the AFC South, and I think they all went 4-0 against the AFC South, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
That certainly helped drive the records to the degree that they were. And then you flip that for John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Zach Taylor, Kevin Stefanski. I mean, pretty elite set of coaches. You've got Joe Burrow. You've got Lamar Jackson. Maybe you have Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
Maybe.
There's a lot.
Might have Shedeur Sanders.
You might have Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, that's very possible. So there's a big change there in terms of the difficulty of the schedule in that regard. And it is interesting to hear that over-under, because the Vikings have, I think you could argue, as much uncertainty at quarterback. And that's probably not realistically true, but just in terms of a guy that has not done it in the NFL yet, I could see where an odds maker might say, hey, we don't know about this yet. We don't know about J.J. McCarthy. But I think the fact those odds are 2 games higher is probably a reflection of the way odds makers feel about Kevin O'Connell, his ability to develop quarterbacks, the work they've done in the offseason. So that if you're sitting here saying they have a quarterback who has not thrown a regular season pass yet, but the over-under is still such that they'll be in the playoff mix, I think that is a sign of respect for what they've done and the fact that they will find a way to be competitive, even if they have a quarterback who's developing into this role.
The 6.5, which ended up being a 7.5, was completely based on this quarterback has been terrible.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be terrible in the new spot.
Yeah.
Now, he may not be Boffo lights out quasi MVP guy like he was for a little bit, but that, it's a 2-game bump.
Yep.
Because I think that the like Las Vegas sports consultants, whomever sets the lines, they've recognized we got nicked up last year.
Yeah.
Because I think they did get nicked up.
Yeah, they probably lost some money on that.
Right. So it's like, okay, new quarterback, first round pick, had a chance to see it for a while. Coaching staff as coach of the year, super high end. We know about the skill. So we're going to make it 8.5 this year. But still, if you just look at it first blush from 14 wins with the talent we know they have, the coaching staff, which is really smart, that we know they have, so they can manipulate McCarthy early in the season with the game plans and stuff like that to raise him the right way. They still, in essence, are being like, all right, to beat us, you got to be 9-8.
Yeah.
I mean, 9-8 ain't great.
No, it's not. And it's interesting. I mean, you know more about the odds making game than I do, but the question I have is that what they think they'll win, or is that what they think will bring out money for people to bet on it?
It's equal action.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want equal action. Yeah, they want $1 million on over 8.5, $1 million on under 8.5. And they scoop the vig.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's probably some of that too. Yeah. It's like what's going to tease out money and what's going to get people to say, "Oh, 8.5, I'll smash that over." Vikings fans will probably say, "Come on, 8.5?
Right?
You kidding me?"
Right. Well, 6.5 was utterly ridiculous. 8.5 is markedly more fair. 10-16, KFAN, Ben Goessling, he's the scribe. Well, tying into that with the AFC North and the teams you just mentioned, are you familiar with an Andrew Filippone?
I am familiar with the name, yes. I hear where you're going on this, yes.
Yeah, popped yesterday.
Yep.
Andrew Filippone of the KFAN in Pittsburgh. It's a radio station. Well, he got loud on the radio yesterday claiming Minnesota is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers week 4 in Dublin, Ireland. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, you part of the job is following and reading everything and then having the gift of discernment God gave you as to follow up on something or tap on your background people to see if you need to advance it.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at your Twitter and you chose not to advance it. So the schedule's out next week.
Yeah.
So we can just wait to see if this is accurate, but say it is. You ever been to Ireland?
I have not been to Ireland. No, it's, I have been to the UK and that is the only venture into Europe I have taken.
Well, if they get one or 1, 2, whatever of these AFC North teams not at their home stadium, and instead get them across the pond, I mean that plays into that 8.5 a little bit too.
It probably does. I mean, because Pittsburgh is a tough place to play, and I have heard, and I think I said it coming out of the owners' meetings, I heard a lot of scuttlebutt down there from talking to people at the owners' meetings about Dublin being a distinct possibility.
For the Vikings?
For the Vikings, because what I heard there was, everybody thought it was going to be the Packers, but I think Pittsburgh blocked that game from leaving Pittsburgh because they want the Packer fans there. They want that gate in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And the Vikings obviously have developed enough of a following in the UK that it's not technically in the UK politically, but it's right there. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to get there. So I have heard that is a distinct possibility that they do end up in Dublin. And then the possibility too, I suppose, is if they're there, the Browns are playing in the UK.
They are?
And they're playing a game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So does that become something where they say, okay, let's hook it and try to do a couple of these things? So I don't know. I mean, that you could do it, I suppose, logistically. It will be interesting to see if they did something like that. But yes, I did hear at the owners' meetings that the Dublin thing was very possible for the Vikings.
Were you a fan of Game of Thrones?
I have not seen an episode of it.
Okay, I loved it. And it seems to be people either try it and don't like it, haven't seen it like you, or ship all in like yours truly and Double B.
Yeah.
So when this Dublin steam popped, and I think it popped, you might have, somebody tweeted about it locally at the owners' meetings when you guys were in West Palm Beach.
It might have been me. I put it in my newsletter, I think.
Right. And I have all your albums and all your newsletters. So then I'm like, okay, well, we got an 88 to 98% chance this is going to happen if it's in the newsletter. So I started looking around the Dublin area for racetracks, and I came across these. I mean, the majority of Game of Thrones was filmed in Ireland, like within 2.5, 3 hours of where Dublin is. So that piques the fancy a little bit, at least for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if it happens. I mean, it would be kind of fun. I've always heard people say great things about Ireland. I'm not enough of a golfer
me either.
to really take advantage of that, or in the UK for that matter. But yeah, it would be fun to see it, and this stuff, whether it happens now or whether it happens in a year or two, this stuff is not going away. I mean, the NFL is ambitious in its international pursuits, and I don't think these things will be becoming less frequent.
I wonder what's next. That way. Morocco? I mean, we're getting down to Brazil.
Yeah.
And now we're in Dublin.
I think I think the Rams are playing in Australia in the next, and I don't know how you do that in terms of.
In Sydney?
Yeah, I think it was Melbourne that they've talked about doing. So how you figure that out in terms of time zones, I just think it gets really difficult because I did that trip. My wife and I did that when my brother-in-law lived in Brisbane. This was 16 years ago or something. But, we were living in D.C. because I was covering the Nats at the time. You fly from D.C. to L.A., and then we had like a 3-hour layover, and it's 13 hours from L.A. to Brisbane. And then you come back, and it was like, we left at noon in Brisbane. We landed at 7 a.m. in L.A., so 5 hours before we took off, effectively, and then we were in D.C. at like 5 o'clock. So the Tuesday we flew back was like a 36-hour day, and we were messed up for a couple of days at least, just in terms of trying to get our brains back on the right time zone. So how you do that as an NFL team in the middle of a season, I'm not entirely sure, but I also don't think the NFL is worried enough about that to not do it.
A trip to Dublin or Belfast would elicit this response. Oh, yeah, look, yeah. That'd be a lot of fun. Rookie camp is this weekend for the Minnesota Vikings. What storylines is the scribe following? We will get into that when 9 to noon continues. But first, here's Double B.
The cash thing, the fan and bigdeck.com. I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com, enter the keyword grand. The keyword grand. KFAN.com.
Hey, friend, I know how this feels. Waking up exhausted after multiple trips to the bathroom and feeling embarrassed by sudden leaks. I used to be constantly on edge, searching for a restroom whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Woman. I was skeptical at first, but 2 months in, everything changed. I experienced improved bladder control, no more heart-stopping moments when I laugh or sneeze, less urge to go, deeper and more restful sleep. I finally felt like myself again, confident and in control. Better Woman is natural, effective, clinically tested, and trusted by women for over 25 years. Ready to take back your control? Head over to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Keyword Head down to the island this Thursday for a KFAN and Treasure Island Timberwolves Game 2 watch party. Stay the night. Book your room at TICasino.com. Use the promo code WOLVES for a 20% off room discount. Treasure Island is the exclusive casino partner of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Rookie camp this weekend for it's league wide, right?
I think different teams either do last week or this week. Okay. You kind of can pick, but for the Vikings, it's this weekend.
What storylines do you generally look for? Whether they have 4 picks, which ends up being 5.
Yeah.
You got college free agents getting $250,000. You're learning about offensive linemen from Kansas and from Wisconsin.
Yep.
So yes, there are plenty of things about which to write and or tweet. But what are the general storylines from rookie camp?
Well, some of it becomes kind of how they are using different players and how they are, kind of lining people up in terms of like Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. What will they do with him?
Yeah.
Kind of where do they position him? And Ty Felton is somebody I'm curious to see. I don't know this for sure, but a lot of times at those things, you do see players that don't have accredited season that are still eligible to participate.
Oh, yeah.
So
like wasn't Brett Hundley there?
Yeah. I mean,
1 year in his 15th year from UCLA or something.
Yes. Or if you're coming off of an injury. So what I'm saying is if you have a quarterback, and I can't remember the rule exactly on this, but I would not be shocked if you have a quarterback that has not played a game yet and is coming off of an injury, is he allowed to work on the field? Should the Vikings have such a player?
Oh, wow.
So we may see JJ. I don't know for sure, but
like in drills?
Well,
that'd be the bomb.
I think the rules allow a player in his situation to participate. So I don't know if he will. I don't have it like completely committed to memory what those rules are, but I have seen that happen before where you see players like, that's not a rookie, but by the letter of the law in this thing,
right?
You can. So I need to go look through the CBA part of that to see exactly what that will be. But I would not be stunned if that is allowed. We'll see if it happens.
Hey,
but that would be interesting. It'd be super interesting.
Yeah, StarTribune.com,
for sure.
Newsletter.biz.
Yep.
YouTube, newhomestudio.org.
Yep.
I mean, it'll just blow up if JJ's out there throwing passes 11 on 11. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and a lot of this for
cool. I'm going to be out of town. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep you posted if that happens. But I mean, Kevin O'Connell, a lot of these things with OTAs too, everybody kind of asks, hey, what are you looking for? What are you going to see? I mean, you know this. They don't work in the offseason in the same way that they used to do it under Mike Zimmer, where it was go, go, go. Yep. It is much more of a teaching time of year. I mean, you'll hear him use the phrase probably in a press conference on Friday, class on the grass. It is a lot of, they'll do things almost at walkthrough pace and then say, hey, we want to teach the way this is supposed to be done at a slower progression so that when you get to training camp, you have it committed to memory. You have the muscle memory already down so that you could do it at full speed. So a lot of this is that pace of things. It's much more teaching. It's much more stop. And hey, I saw this and I want you to work on this and let's do it again. It tends to be the 11 on 11 stuff tends to be pretty light in it. But yeah, I'm curious to see what comes out of it. I'm curious to see Max Brosmer. I mean, there are a number of things that will be fascinating to see how this goes. Donovan Jackson, obviously. It's hard to evaluate offensive linemen in this because they're not in pads. But just how he looks, and I think some of those things are going to be fascinating to watch through this weekend. Remember Diggs' rookie camp against Trey Waynes? Yeah. At Winter Park. Yep. It's like Diggs, first time you saw him was like fifth round, right? Yep. How did this happen? Okay. Yeah, he cooked him. It's like Scott Turner, was the quarterback's coach at the time. And when he was in Pittsburgh with Dave Wannstedt and his father Norv was with Washington, he remembered Steph from like middle school. Yeah. Like starting at 8th grade. He recruited him hard. Yes. And so I think Stefan had a ruptured spleen. Yep. So that played into him dropping. Yep. And Trey Waynes goes like 11th. And seriously, what Diggs did to Trey Waynes in that rookie camp should be a felony in 48 states. He just annihilated him. And I remember talking to George Stewart that summer at training camp, and Stewart said Scott Turner was in his office every single day, and I can still hear George Stewart in that basso profundo voice saying, Scott Turner's telling him, it's got to be the Diggs guy. It's got to be the Diggs guy in the draft. And it got to the point where George Stewart said he would get in, he'd see Scott Turner in the morning and say, good morning, Scott. I know it's got to be the Diggs guy. Like he said, Scott Turner was banging the table. Yeah. We have to draft Stephon Diggs. So when they got him, I remember George Stewart saying, this has been drilled into my brain and I've seen it on film and now I've watched him on field and this has confirmed what we thought about him. The priors were confirmed, as they say. Are you going to
watch any or all of the Wolves game tonight?
I will probably watch all of it. Actually, I'm certainly watching all of it. Having some buddies over to in the new garage. My buddy.
Oh, wow.
Yes, my buddy David McCoy used to be WCCO. Is big,
super cool guy.
Yeah, awesome guy. One of my best friends. We've been friends for 20 some years, going back to the Minnesota Daily days. But he did a home theater system at his house. I was like, so we kind of do this where we see something that the other one has. Like, hey, that's cool. Let me do that on mine. So he helped me wire it for surround sound. So it's become quite a fun spot to watch a game. So I'm having some people over to do that tonight.
All right. You were a baby, I believe, the last time a team hoisted a championship trophy in this state.
I was 8.
You were 8. Okay.
Yep.
So you were elementary school.
Yep, 3rd grade.
When the Twins won it in 1991. Have you always known it here to be the state of hockey? All right. So state of hockey is a mantra that is, it's self-proclaimed, I believe.
By the Wild.
You're right.
Yep.
But I mean, honestly, it plays into, grandma wears ice skates and drives the Zamboni through the Pee-wees and the kids and everything. This state, though, gets pretty jazzed when the Timberwolves are good.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating because we talk state of hockey, and the Wild have certainly made it a mantra, and it shows up, I think, more at a youth level where you see kids skating everywhere. I remember when I lived in D.C., writing about this when the Frozen Four was there, like the Capitals and a lot of these teams have gone all in on helping develop youth hockey in these markets because they want people playing as kids because then they become fans and ticket buyers as an adult. And I remember talking to people there about like, well, it's hard to run a rink because you have to have enough ice time covered to make it a for-profit thing. And they asked me, oh, you're from Minnesota. How do they do it there? And I said, well, I thought about it. It's like every city, and I told them this, like every city has a taxpayer-funded rink with, they said, how many sheets? I said, a lot of times 2, sometimes more. It's usually at least 1. There's like every city. And I said, yes. It's taxpayer funded and they're full. So state of hockey, we see it there. And I think we see it in college hockey as much as we do the NHL. And some of that obviously is the North Stars move in 93. And it takes a while to kind of get attached to the Wild and get attached to what they've built. I was talking with some friends about this yesterday. The Wild, I think, are like a year or 2 away from having been here as long as the North Stars, which is crazy to me. But we've also had this stretch where the Wolves had a dry spell for a long time. The Gophers men's basketball team has not been very good, but I can remember being a kid, Gopher basketball tickets were impossible to get. You could not get in. I mean, Williams Arena was
Clem Haskin days?
Yes. Williams, Vashawn Leonard, all those teams, and then obviously into Bobby Jackson and the banner that shall not be raised. But that ticket was really tough to get, and the Wolves, when they were good in the KG days, that they were a big deal. And obviously the Wild weren't here yet, so they had that head start. But when this town has good hoops to root for, it becomes a really good basketball town. And I think we're seeing that come back to life with this Wolves run, and obviously last year too. So it's really fun. I mean, I think this series has all the subplots with Draymond and Rudy Gobert, and obviously Jimmy Butler coming back to town, and the greatness of Steph Curry and all of those things. It'll be a lot of fun. I was kind of rooting for this just for storylines, and I'll be locked in on it tonight.
Well, the elite of all elite storylines here, and when you and I were at Steve's Appliances Friday, chatting with those nice enough to come to the customer appreciation event, step 1 was taken last night.
Yes,
the Knicks went to Boston and took home court advantage from the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
And now Kristaps Porzingis got hurt, 13 into it. He was playing great. Nowhere to be found.
Yep.
No, at least I haven't seen a report. And, if the Knicks can get through this, get through the next one, Wolves get through Steph, get through whomever wins the next
probably
one.
OKC, I would think, right?
Well, Denver beat them last night.
Yeah.
Game 1 at OKC.
And they've beaten Denver before. They did it last year.
So, I think OKC and Boston both will win those series.
Right.
But it didn't start that way.
Right.
I mean, Karl Anthony Towns and Super Special Tibbs against Finchy and Edwards and Julius Randle.
Oh, man.
It's 10 of 10.
It would be so fun. I mean, we got a ways to go to get there, but that would be so much fun.
That'd be 10 of 10.
And just like, I remember people just being in New York, people talk about when the Knicks are good, there is nothing that unites that town like that. And it's, obviously you talk about the basketball history in Harlem and just, pickup games there and all of the heritage and history that goes with it in New York City. it makes some sense. I mean, I've always thought of that as a baseball town, but people say, no, when the Knicks are good and the Garden is hopping, there's nothing that brings New York City together like that. So if it was Wolves and Knicks in the finals, Wolves in the Garden against Cat.
Come on.
I mean, we got a ways to go to get there, and everybody's probably saying, don't jinx it, but man, that would be a lot of fun.
Just to land the plane on the Vikings and rookies to close. They really like this Penn State inside linebacker. They got deep in the draft, Kobe King, don't they?
Yes, they do.
What do you think they like?
Well, I think it's two things. He's a downhill kind of run and hit type, and I think there's a little bit of Ivan Pace to his game. There's a violence to his game that I think fits into what they want to do on early downs. And then I also think special teams was a kind of a sneaky focus of this draft. I mean, with Felton and him and I think even Gavin Bartholomew to a degree, they know that special teams is going to be a bigger part of the game as the league is trying to make the kickoff a thing again. I mean, with the 35-yard touchback, the league wants the ball in play. They want kickoffs to exist. They want kickoffs to be safer, but if they were trying to get rid of that play, they would have just done it. Say, we're going to start every drive at the 25 or the 30 and whatever. You get rid of the play completely. So the fact that they haven't done that, they are still wanting this dynamic kickoff thing to work. So if that's the case, you have to, again, build teams that can make special teams an advantage for you. And I think they feel like Kobe King can be a guy in coverage units that helps there, because that play, if it does become something that's more active, is, it sets almost like a stretch run play in some ways. So if you have run and hit types that can factor in the run game that you can put on special teams, I think those skill sets certainly transfer to kickoffs as we go forward. So whether it's Ty Felton returning or Kobe King in coverage, I think they did say, let's make special teams an advantage for us. And we've seen it, obviously, over the years, the Cordell Patterson, Percy Harvin, Marcus Sherrills, and punt returns. The Vikings have had teams that can flip games with special teams production, and I think there's an effort to do some of that. So I'm curious where he fits into that mix as well.
The Scribe is elite. Have a wonderful week, and may God bless you and your family, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds good.
Ben Goessling, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. We are going out to the Bay Area next segment to chat with San Francisco 49ers play-by-play voice Greg Papa, who was the Golden State Warriors play-by-play voice for 11 years. And he's an elite basketball mind. We'll get the Warriors perspective from Main Man G when we return to 9.
Hey, friend, I know how this feels. Waking up exhausted after multiple trips to the bathroom and feeling embarrassed by sudden leaks. I used to be constantly on edge, searching for a restroom whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Woman. I was skeptical at first, but 2 months in, everything changed. I experienced improved bladder control, no more heart-stopping moments when I laugh or sneeze, less urge to go, deeper and more restful sleep. I finally felt like myself again, confident and in control. Better Woman is natural, effective, clinically tested, and trusted by women for over 25 years. Ready to take back your control? Head over to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Noon. Soft and warm, the quiet storm, KFAN. Welcome back. The postmortem press conference with Minnesota Wild coach John Hines and the general manager Billy Guerin takes off about 20 minutes from Mark. But first, let's chat with one of my very favorites on and off the microphone. His name is Greg Papa. 49ers play-by-play voice. You've heard him discuss that here myriad times, 9 to noon. Also, KNBR radio host. The show's very popular. And a former Golden State Warriors play-by-play voice for 11 years. He's Main Man G. And here he is. What's going on, Greg Papa?
How are you, Paul? Yeah, we didn't make the playoffs either in hockey, although young Macklin Celebrini has got a chance to win the Calder Cup. Had an exciting year. Didn't have the football season you guys had, obviously. And now the first ever Warriors and Wolves matchup. I remember going in the Metrodome years ago, taking on Pooh Richardson and Tony Campbell, and Randy Brewer went for like 50, and Nelly wouldn't double him. And Bill Musselman was the coach then. So we got history with Minnesota and the T-Wolves, the old Target Center, second oldest building in the NBA, but no playoff history between the two franchises until tonight.
Yeah, this is just the third time a 7 and a 6 have met in the NBA postseason, and one time was in the mid '80s. The Rockets were involved. Last time, a couple of years ago, it involved the Dubs, and I think the Lakers beat the Warriors as a 7. Yep. So the 7 has beaten the 6 both times this has transpired. You know, this I've heard this a lot because we carry the Timberwolves here, and we talk a lot of Wolves 9 to noon. You know, this is not your average 7 seed out of the play-in, the Golden State Warriors with Steph, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, and so on. I mean, the Timberwolves as a 6, this isn't your everyday 6 either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they go back to the Warriors-Lakers of a couple of years ago. And there's a lot of commonalities going into this series. The Warriors played Sacramento in the first round, lost a Game 6 at home. It was during day 2 of the NFL draft. So they had to go to Sacramento and play Game 7. And Steph went for 50, but they had to play that extra game. They actually had home court advantage against the Lakers, but they were obviously tired, lost Game 1 here at Chase Center, and never got back into the series. So this is our concern. The Warriors-Rockets series just lasted way too damn long. If Jimmy Butler doesn't get undercut by Amen Thompson, I think the Warriors sweep them. But he did, and they lost that game. And then they went back up 3-1 and kicked to Game 5, and then didn't play well in 6. And then they had to go 7, where you guys took care of the Lakers in 5. So you got a real advantage going into the game tonight, just as far as rest and prep. But watching Denver, same situation. They just played a play on Saturday, going to OKC, who had a week off. So we'll see. I think tonight's going to be sparring. The weird thing is we're so used to playing the Rockets in those red jerseys, and all of a sudden you're facing a new team. It's like dancing with a new partner. It's really awkward. You're stepping on each other's feet. You have to kind of feel it out early in the game. So I would think Minnesota has a great chance to win tonight. The Warriors probably going there thinking let's get a split, but you never know. It's the NBA, like Denver was able to walk down OKC last night, and the Knicks were able to come back on Boston. Hey,
Greg, for my taste, in my estimation, you know, you're one of the not only best team play-by-play announcers in NFL history, but you're one of the best this side of Chick Hearn that I've ever heard call basketball games. So here's the question. This time of the year,
tremendous compliment. Thank you.
Well, no problem, and you know it's authentic and from the heart. But I mean, you haven't called full time NBA since we first met when I was calling races at Bay Meadows Racecourse, and you're doing Latrell Sprewell in his rookie year from Alabama. This time of the year, do you miss calling Warriors games when the postseason rolls around?
I miss calling the games. At Syracuse, we did every sport there, but, you know, we were in the Carrier Dome when I was a student at SU in front of 35,000 playing Georgetown.
Wow.
And I was doing all those games. I traveled. And so, you know, I do baseball and football, obviously, but my first job out in professional sports, I was 21 years old. I got hired by the Indiana Pacers to do their games out of college for 2 years, then came out here. I love basketball. I think it's football. I had to retrain my brain. It's so complicated with all the situations and every down and distance, new players, and you can't see them, and there's the sight lines in some of these press boxes we're in. In the NBA, you know, they're in T-shirts and shorts and, you know, muscle shirts, jerseys, and you get a good look at them. You know how they run, how they walk. It's a great, but I see a lot of basketball with football. I look at the game similarly in the 5 eligibles in football. You know, you have 5 offensive linemen and the quarterback. There's 6 stationary parts. And then the other 5 made up of backs, fullbacks, halfbacks, tight ends, wide receivers. How do you deploy them? And that's like basketball. You're playing 5, but it's not 5-on-5 in football. It could be 5-on-7, could be 5-on-8, depending on how you're front and your linebacker. So, but I do see a lot of commonalities between the two sports. To answer your question, I would love to do this game tonight, Paul. But if you could just magically transport me, some sci-fi movie, maybe Star Trek. I think they did that in Trek. And just drop me in the Target Center right at tip-off.
Yeah.
And you downloaded my brain with all the information that I need to call the game.
Yeah.
I could do it. I'd love to do it. It'd be a fun 2.5. I'd rather call it than watch it.
Yeah.
But as you know, it's the prep. It's the travel. NBA travel's hard, brother.
Yep.
Wears you down. Baseball travel's insane. I had to give that up. It's just too much.
Right.
Especially when you're raising kids. But I remember the best basketball announcer we've ever had. Chick was great with the Lakers and Marv with the Knicks. There's been so many. Bill King did the Warriors here forever and ever. And I invited him to a Warrior game one day. We're playing the Celtics and Larry Bird. And I asked him to do just a quarter of play-by-play. And he respectfully declined because he knew he couldn't do it like Bill King. He didn't have the knowledge base. He didn't know the players as well. He just couldn't be Bill King.
Right.
So, yeah, I miss it. I love it. It's like calling a football game. Once that ball gets kicked off or they tip it off, it's on. And there's so much going on, but it's not that easy. I mean, I wish it was. I could just show up and do the game and go. But as you know, as much time as you put into it, it's the prep and it's the travel that makes it sometimes just undoable.
Bill King immortalized with this radio show in the Button Bar.
Holy Toledo!
This is Greg. This is Greg
I thought
Papa.
you played when he wished Eddie Rush, the NBA official, a happy Mother's Day. And it wasn't Mother's Day, Paul, which is coming up on Sunday, by the way. Be good to your mother and your wife.
Yep, amen. Is Steph Curry the most popular player in town, or is it Christian McCaffrey?
Oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, it's Steph.
I love CMC.
Yeah, I got you.
Steph Curry's the most popular. We talk about it all the time. The Bay Area Mount Rushmore.
Right.
And, brother, we got Willie Mays.
I know.
We got Joe Montana.
Steve Young.
We got Jerry Rice. Does Barry Bonds even make the Mount Rushmore of Bay Area athletes? We got Ronnie Lott.
Jumbo Joe
Thornton. It goes on and on. Rick Barry's the most underrated player that's ever played because nobody liked Rick.
Right.
But he was a terrific player. He was Bird before Bird. Steph Curry transcends everything. I was just talking about this after what they did the other night in Houston. When I got here, and you were out here then. I did the Warriors games on KNVR. It's my station now.
Yep.
With the Niners. Big station, but they had the rights to the Giants games too. And Warriors are coming down the stretch in the playoffs. It's March and April, and we would get preempted for Giants baseball, but not regular season baseball, spring trading baseball. They would bump us. When we went to the Target Center to play the Timberwolves, and the game would tip off at 5:30 our time or something. They didn't put the games on during drive time then. It was more popular to have the Paul Allen show on. So, but Steph changed all that. The ratings the Warriors get. When I got here, it was Niners were the Tiffany franchise, American sport in the 80s. They, won their 5 Super Bowls in 14 years. They ran the city. The Giants are, old school San Francisco coming here from 58. So it was Niners, huge. Giants, huge. Warriors get in where you can, where you fit in. It just, so it all changed. Why? It's amazing to me to see the popularity of this team. Paul, they're worth $9 billion.
Jeez.
They're worth more than the New York friggin' Yankees. Come on, what are we talking about here?
Right.
The only team in sports worth more are the Cowboys.
Right.
And they can't win. So, I mean, Steph Curry's he's not only on, maybe the way to do it is to have Steph Lord above the Mount Rushmore like God, and then pick 4 below him because Steph, he's bigger than Willie Mays or Joe Montana.
Amen. I like that. Hey, Greg Papa, KNBR, 49ers Vikes, call to the Warriors for a decade plus, elite play-by-play voice. Couple here to close. We got a wild postmortem press conference about 10 minutes from now. Jim Peterson does radio analysis here during the playoffs.
He's coming out with me. He's coming out with me today.
Oh, sweet. Well, you called the final 3 years of his career. What do you remember about Big Jim?
Oh, wow. So Pete is coming on my show. We call him Petey. So he got traded for Ralph Sampson.
Ooh.
And Ralph was broken down. We traded Joe Barry Carroll and Sleepy Floyd. Now he trades them for Ralph. We're in a preseason game in Stockton. And Ralph plays his first 6 minutes as a Warrior. His knees aren't good. Melly goes in the huddle and starts screaming at Ralph. Is that all you got? What the hell did I trade for you? Like, Nelly, what are you doing? You're stuck. So Nelly tried to just get rid of him. He tried to trade him. So he trades him to Sacramento for Peterson. And Jim was tight. Molly loved him. Tom Tolbert loved him.
Yeah.
We all hung out together. Pete's great. He's going to be on my radio show today. I love the guy. But he was complaining one day about not playing. So Nelly calls him up in the office, and Nelly's the GM and the coach. And he simulates a phone call where he's calling people. And the bottom line is he has to listen to like 4 or 5 conversations. And he says, I'd love to trade your ass, but no one in the league wants you. And I slammed the phone down. So Nelly can be a bit abrasive. So Pete rolled with all that stuff over the years. Great guy.
Yeah.
And a great college player. He was a good NBA player on those Rockets teams behind Ralph and Akeem.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Peterson was the third center behind the Twin Towers.
Right. And played with one of your favorites, Granville Waiters. Okay, give me a...
Love Granville Waiters.
Give me your best...
He was a grandpa when he came into the NBA as a rookie.
I know.
Technically a grandpa.
Yeah,
I don't know how that worked.
Have the hairline with it.
He was with my first team in Indiana. I used to travel with that guy. I was 21 years old, and I'm like, we got a grandpa center here. How the hell are we going to go to the Boston Garden?
Give me your best minute on this. You're an elite basketball mind. Who do you like in the series and why? The Dubs or the Wolves?
Well, I'm not going to root against it. I'll tell you what. I rejoined the Warriors doing all the pre and post game shows, so I'm involved in a lot of it. But and watching the whole Steve Kerr, and I knew Steve in San Antonio with Pop when I was there. I've never gone into a series thinking the Warriors cannot win.
Right.
And in fact, they most certainly can win this series. But this is the first one with Steve as the head coach that they are not favored. Think about that. That's pretty amazing.
Right.
I see matchup issues in this series. I thought the Warriors would sweep Houston, and that series went way too long. It wound up going 7. Minnesota is a much better team than the Houston Rockets. They're better coached. They have better personnel, and they have a closer. So the Warriors are going to have to play better basketball than they played against the Rockets to beat Minnesota. They're capable of doing it, but this is going to be a mighty challenge.
Love you, bud. Thanks for the time. Have a good week.
Thank you, Paul. Love you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you. That's Greg Papa, man. He is the real deal, Holyfield, with everything he does. And when I first got to the Bay Area in 1993 to start my racetrack announcing career, I'm listening to KNBR to Greg Papa early in his career, and I'm like, damn. I just heard Chick Hearn for 15 years, and now I get to listen to this icon in training. And he's the 49ers play-by-play voice now. He is the genuine article. When we return, off to St. Paul, Heinze and Billy G with a season-closing Minnesota Wild-related press conference on KFAN.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.